Oh my god, what's happening? Chaos. Destruction. I love it. Cody, what are you doing? I'm trying to cover another level of personal identity. What topic could be so volatile, so explosive, that you're getting this much backlash? Oh. Why do you have a stick? They wouldn't give me a gun. You can't tackle this one on your own, boss. Let me jump in. No! I can do this!
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
How dare you!
Every night.
Excuse me, it's ma'am!
My neck.
It is ma'am!
My arms. Even my fingers.
I think he's dead. He'll be fine. I'll take over. Before I jump into this topic, because of its sensitivity, I need to give a brief disclaimer. This video isn't any sort of commentary on transgender people or gender non-conforming people. What my goal is here is to take a more critical look at the idea of gender itself. I'm mostly holding up a mirror to society in the United States, but many of these points and counterpoints apply to all peoples. Now, before I go down the gender rabbit hole, I want to ask you a question. What makes a minor chord sad? Bear with me, this is going somewhere. Let's take the major chord of C. And now let's drop the third 1/2 step and make it a C minor. This tone is more melancholy. It evokes more of a sad emotion from us. But why is that? Well, we can talk about tone brightness and major and minor scales, but that still doesn't answer the question. The effect of a chord or a song sounding happy or sad is a result of cultural conditioning. Western musical tradition has many major chord melodies that we attribute to feelings of joy. Example, Happy Birthday or the Wedding March, and also minor progression songs that we attribute to more lachrymose feelings, i.e. the Funeral March or Moonlight Sonata. These musical themes have no inherent emotion ascribed to them, but because of a long history of using them to convey that emotion, changing the melody from a major to a minor can significantly affect the outward appearance of the song. As music developed, with the introduction of more lyrics in popular music, the tone of the piece didn't always need to reflect the meaning of the song, and could be used to provide no specific message, one or both, which is the case with songs like Hey Ya, with an upbeat, happy tune that has a dark, sad message about divorce. So where am I going with this? Well, the same cultural conditioning is what has caused this cognitive dissonance about gender and gender dysphoria. Sociologically, gender, and not biological sex, is a result of cultural conditioning. Many humans see gender as being binary, in that each one has a fixed set of characteristics, simply because we have been conditioned for centuries to believe so. But the idea of gender roles being more fluid and open is not a new idea. So why is this such a big deal? Well, first, let's define some terms. As we know, sex is defined as either of two main categories, male and female, into which humans and most other living things are divided on the basis of their reproductive functions. And gender is
another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, and another one.
Well, that's where we run into an issue. For many years, gender was used as a synonym for sex by a vast number of governments, companies, hospitals, etc. But gender as a term holds more weight. For example, grammatical gender and gender assignments of nouns in many languages, specifically Latin languages, is used to better describe the attributes of certain things like biological sex, humanness or animacy, individuality or conformity. It is also used as a way of describing two opposite compatible parts, such as electronic connectors. The most common and most referred to example of grammatical gender assignment for conformity is from the U.S. Declaration of Independence, where it is written that all men are created equal. And while this didn't turn out to be the case for America after the Revolution, it was the intention of the Founding Fathers to use the term men to describe humanity as a whole, and not just males specifically. But when do politicians ever keep their promises? Equality is harder to find because its meaning keeps changing. Jefferson's restrictive definition that people are of equal moral worth, and such deserve equal treatment under the law, made distinctions for free men versus slaves, men versus women, property owners versus debtors, etc. But we do now live in a society that allows us to live in the America our forefathers once dreamed of. Almost. There are still many states in the US that can deny you housing or a job or service simply based on your gender identity. And while that's only a small handful of states, unfortunately it's a fight we still have to face. But we are on the right path and keep growing. We can't grow if we never change. Much to the dismay of Merriam-Webster, words do change, and their meaning goes along with it. For example, the phrase on accident used to be completely incorrect because on is indicative of intention, and you cannot intentionally have an accident because then it would be intentional, and the correct phrasing would be by accident, but I digress. What we know as gender today is split up into 3 categories: gender identity, gender expression, and gender roles. Gender identity is a person's perception of having a particular gender, which may or may not correspond with their birth sex. Gender roles are the roles or behaviors learned by a person as appropriate to their gender, determined by the prevailing cultural norms. And gender expression is how each individual expresses their own identity and how each person fits into these roles. In the past, gender was societally restricted to the binary for one specific reason: survival. In the past, men were providers, strong hunter-gatherers, and women were providers at home and nurturers.
Hey! I am your mother!
You see, that wasn't always the case. There were many people of both genders that filled either role, but culturally those people were not seen as normal or beneficial to the tribe. Humans are very tribal, and they always have been. It's hard to break them of that habit of clumping groups together and wanting to know exactly what and who is in each group. It is just part of human nature. In their eyes, men are this way and women are that way. But that was then and this is now.
When will then be now? Soon.
No longer are those specific roles needed or even necessary in our society. At this point in human evolution, diversity of gender identity may actually be beneficial. Some people blame the endless cycle of wars that often left women alone to fill both roles back home. But that is no longer the case, as many men and women both serve, and many men and women find themselves filling many of the non-traditional gender roles. Well, just because you fill that role, it doesn't make you the other gender. Biology is biology, and that's that. Well, yes, just filling the role of a mother doesn't make you a woman, but it does go to prove that these concepts of women does this, men does that is completely made up by us, and there's no real genetics behind who can fit these roles. But doesn't that just mean you're pretending? You can't just put on a wig and be a woman. Well, for some, that is what it means. But they still have a penis. Let me explain. Questioning your gender is okay. It is completely normal. And as you are developing, there will be many times your body will change, and your mind will change. But calling people out, alienating and berating gender-fluid people will only hinder their own personal journey, and force them to live an unauthentic life. And just like orientation, you can lock some people in a closet, and they have to carry that baggage around with them their whole lives. CONTRAPOINT on YouTube does an amazing job laying out the many overlying issues facing non-binary and gender-fluid people. Many transgender people are often diagnosed with gender dysphoria, a mental condition where you feel uncomfortable living out the gender roles you were born into because of the biological sex you were assigned at birth. Well, doesn't that just mean the same doctors that condemn for assigning them gender at birth are the same ones they go to be diagnosed with dysphoria? For validity? Well, you don't need dysphoria to question your gender, and no diagnosis is going to be able to change the way you express yourself. If you are a biological male and you feel like expressing yourself as a woman, no doctor can diagnose your womanhood away, short of a lobotomy. The question I think we are leading towards is what makes a man and what makes a woman, and that's difficult to answer because of how diverse and different each person is from the next. This might be manliness to you, but it may not fit what manliness means to another. I say it doesn't matter. At least, it shouldn't matter. Your gender identity and the way you express it belongs to you. I mean, look at me. I am a hyena-otter hybrid were creature that lives in the head of a 30-year-old furry YouTuber, and not even once have I considered my gender having any significant bearing on my personality other than maybe mating and attraction, which is an entirely different subject. Partner compatibility is important to most everybody, and having those established identifying traits of genders can help greatly in finding a suitable mate. For example, if I'm a biological male and I'm looking for a nurturing, maternal figure to bear my children, I can easily narrow down that market by seeking out those traits in the opposite sex. They know what that puzzle piece is and they know where it fits, simple and clean. What a lot of people are scared of is, well, if I can't tell their gender outright, what if I'm hitting on a dude? The simple solution to this problem is to just politely ask. Atris, what is your gender? Oh, well, I guess I never really thought of that. Well, how do you feel? Hungry? Ugh, no, your gender. Are you male or female? How can I tell? I mean, I guess I'm a male. You know, do you, feel particularly masculine? Not really. Does that mean I'm a girl? I don't think that's how it works. Well, how does it work? And therein lies the problem. Gender being so personal makes it hard to define or even sometimes determine. Where common definitions of gender and gender roles fail us is when one person takes their gender and decides that their entire existence needs to be an expression of that gender. All this does is to reinforce the same gender roles that so many genderqueer people want to break free from, and then further corner cis people into those gender norms, i.e. girls wear dresses and guys play sports. Hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity are fine if that's your style, but you shouldn't shove your gender into every aspect of yourself just to get the point across. The less we care about these extremes and fitting into these neat little boxes, the more normalized gender fluidity can become. Just be yourself, unapologetically. Don't let something or someone dictate how you have to live your life, just because that's how it's always been done.
Just because it's what's done doesn't mean it's what should be done.
You as a person are more than just what gender you are, and more than how you express it. Don't stress too much over how you express yourself, because if you are only doing it to make a statement, then it comes off as unauthentic, and can damage your overall identity in the end. There will be growing pains as the gender spectrum becomes a bit more normalized. So if you get misgendered, or somebody expects a role from you that you don't feel fits you, don't get mad, just take a deep breath, smile, and politely correct them. If they still decide to come after you, then just walk away. They go low, we go high. Be the better person, and if you can't, call me. I'll bite them. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for even more content to come. If you really liked this video and want to help support me, you could join my Patreon in the link below. That being said, let me thank my amazing patrons for their continued support. None of this would be possible without you guys. If you have anything to say about this video, please comment your opinions below. Thank you guys so much, and see you again in the next one. Hey Veovis, what's up? If I'm a girl, I already told you that's not how it works. Am I a pretty girl?